Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meticulous Talks on September 14th, 2024. I'm Chris Courts.
And I'm Hifrock.
Good afternoon, Ithrock.
Good afternoon indeed.
Are you ready to talk about card ratings again?
I'm still recovering from our last stream.
And we will be until the next review stream, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, why do we do these things to ourselves?
Well, I mean, it is fun
Yep.
for the first hour.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And the second hour sometimes.
I would say it picks up again usually by the 7th or 8th. Just to get to the troublemakers, and it starts getting fun again. See the light at the end of the tunnel finally.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, it has only been a month since that stream. But in that time, we've had HithCon, and there was a little tournament over at Everfree that gave us actual data to look at in terms of what worked and what didn't.
Yeah.
Or at least
small indie tournament.
Yeah. And so yeah, we can actually look back on those ratings and see everything we got right?
Yeah, are you ready to re-rate every card
No,
right now?
that's not what we planned.
It is now. We're re-rating every card. And no, it is not re-rating in the retrospect because the cards were banned, so these ratings are invalid. So we need to re-rate every card with that in mind, but without considering the Continentals results, and then see how wrong we are. Make sense? Let's go.
I do not endorse this strategy. No, we've picked out a couple of kind of broad areas that we were wrong about, and I think a couple that we were right about, but maybe for the wrong reasons. And we're just gonna kind of check through those boxes. We do have like some of them, admittedly, thankfully, because we have kind of the dual rating system this year. We were like right on one side, and so it's not like a total miss.
That's true. When you have more ratings, there's more chance that you will be right on one of them.
Yeah. But yeah, these were, and perhaps it's worth pointing out that the meta is still evolving. I think there's a very high chance that before the next new cards are released, there will probably be a deck that comes out of nowhere, and or something that no one's tried before that maybe uses some of these cards that don't look very good right now because nobody used them at Continentals, but they could still have a time to come.
Yeah.
So, with that caveat, shall we go into it? Yeah, so these are in no particular order. Except we're starting with a main. It's Trailblazer. You and I both gave it a 2.
But it's in top 8.
In top 8 of Continentals. That usually is requiring a 3 at least. Yes. Even more than that,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, it probably means the deck can hold its own.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think happened? Why did we give a H a 2?
So, I mean, Hitch was here as kind of the flag waver of yellow aggro. I think, on my case at least, I assumed that if you were going to play yellow aggro, you would play a different main. You would play like Fluttershy.
Yeah, that's my kind of assumption as well. I mean, the advantage that Hitch has over Fluttershy is that he can deal with troublemakers,
Mm-hmm.
right? But otherwise, he seems much slower. Well, I mean, there aren't that many dilemmas, so that's another thing, right? Fluttershy's boosted side doesn't do much if you don't run dilemmas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there aren't that many of them. So maybe this is actually just your best option as far as yellow goes.
That may be
But
so.
like I will admit that I have been kind of discounting yellow a little bit, I would say, maybe.
Well, aggro.
Yellow aggro, yes. Not yellow as a color. But turns out yellow is good enough.
Turns out, yeah. Like, I guess, now that I think about it, maybe I should look at Honka's deck again, but, like, it was pretty close to what Thorax used to be just without Thorax, right?
Yeah, with cards swapped.
Yeah. And the fact that core remained and was still probably intact with Birds of a Feather, etc., maybe should have given us a bit more of a thought that, like, you know.
Yeah, you still have Antoine, still have Birds of a Feather, and you have all the other yellow critters. You still have Bad Hair Day, which is well, I mean, Bad Hair Day is not as important to this the deck Conqueror as it would be for Thorax, right?
Mhm.
But still.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you were missing Thorax, as I said. Bunyip felt like a pretty big card to rotate out. And certainly the deck is worse for not having it. But yeah, enough still remained to be pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. If I go into detailed rating for Hitch for me, it was 4-2. I think from a perspective of a deck in which I think a deck that would be built for Hitch, I think that perspective is correct. And but the fact is that there aren't that many good yellow mains. Fluttershy wants you to run dilemmas. So if you don't run dilemmas, you don't really run her. And I guess Hitch is the next best thing.
Yeah.
That's my impression of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which is, I mean, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. I guess so. What that means probably is as certainly as sets come out and like whispers and talks about aggro and such, and you'd assume more dilemmas will come into the pool. Probably we should really keep an eye on yellow aggro. It's not far from being pretty good,
Yeah.
even in the state it's currently in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next set are the generic entry cards. If Get Prepared and Ray of Hope here. Now we rated these pretty highly.
Well, one of us rated them pretty highly.
Well, I mean, even a 3 for you is not like that's given its own respect.
That's fair. Although I think both of them are actually 5s.
I think that's what's become clear. Yes.
Like even I, who don't really, I don't really give 5s, right? Unless it's like, wow. but I think they do cross that threshold. Like in our table here, we have 5 defines archetypes or decks. I think that's kind of correct. Like get prepared, absolutely. Ray of Hope, a little less so than get prepared, but still, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the decks we saw in Continentals would not be possible without these 2 cards in the meta. Like, say we had some other entry that was more like, say we had motivational speech.
Mm-hmm.
And decks do consistently win that run them.
Yeah, I think you could say that.
There is a deck that consistently wins and runs this card, is what I guess I'm saying. And that is, if I had to point to any single deck, that would be Beagle's deck because his seed was 6-1. That's consistent winning. I'm pretty sure.
For sure. Yeah, yeah. So, if I were to try to put a mark on at least why I didn't put these cards on 5 straight away. So, like, consider Ray of Hope, right? The natural comparison, I think, is with Bloodstone Scepter. Another card that you pay 1 gives you 2 colors.
Singing Barrel, I think.
Well, so Singing Barrel is close. Like it's somewhere between those two, right? Or at least similar in there. And Bloodstone wasn't particularly it's soft play, but it wasn't enormous, right?
Yeah.
Right. And the distinction probably is, I mean, Bloodstone has the -1 power thing, right? Like when you're doing color entry, the level that you get from that entry is really, really important. The difference between 2 and 3 is huge.
Sure.
Yeah. And also, sorry, go ahead.
For the purposes of like abusing colors, is like Bloodstone Scepter and Ray of Hope. Like if you want to play tricolor cards, they kind of achieve the same thing because all of the tricolor cards have 2 rec. However, Ray of Hope, like Bloodstone Scepter, you play it and you're stuck with it. Not so much with Ray of Hope, because like if you play Bloodstone, that's it. Your main now is 2 forever, which is not a great situation. Like it's much better to just temporarily get the entry and don't have your main nerfed because of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
does not
And
have a downside for sure.
yeah, and like as people pointed out, like Ray of Hope, like with Bloodstone, you can blow it up or whatever if you're the opponent. With Ray of Hope, once it comes into play, that's really it, right? If you make it leave play, well, great. The opponent might thank you for that.
Yes, yeah, that's another thing about Ray of Hope. It is impossible to remove. Well, like if you remove it, they still get the color. It's impossible to deny a color out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The best you could do is remove it like after opponent can't use the color anymore, like at the end of their turn or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it also feeds counter logic, which is also relevant here. Yeah.
It's fair. Like yeah, you.
Uh,
Sorry, go on.
I just gonna point out that. Oh no, never mind. No, continue.
Yeah, so I was gonna say that like actually, it may be most correct to look at the card as it's a 1 cost main phase event that gives your main a color, and then it's a free immediate event that gives your main a color.
Sure. Yes, have used it like that before. When I needed pink on my opponent's turn to play Windy. I mean, I think I did that against you, and you were confused. It's like I play Ray of Hope, I do nothing,
Right.
pass my turn, and you're like, why did he do that? And then I retire it to give myself pink. Like that's another option, but that's yeah. Like I think all of those things combined kind of make Ray of Hope really good, and the fact that I think one thing I've been sleeping on is the fact that you can get 2 colors out of it on the same turn. in my mind, when I was rating the card, I was like, my primary. I kind of tunneled on the fact that you are basically replacing motivational speech, right? And I did not consider how good entering a tricolor uh, would be with this card for just 180.
Hmm. Well, yeah. I think that's a fine segue over to the left hand side of our picture. Entering tricolors for just 180.
Before we get into it, I want to ask you a question. So for deck performance,
Hmm.
would would any entry card, any wild card entry card like this, ever not get a 5 in deck performance?
Well, presuming it gets
Because,
played.
well, if it doesn't get played, that means it wasn't 1 in utility.
Hmm.
Because any deck could, in theory, run these cards, and, if they don't, that means they were not good enough in utility.
Yeah, that's a fair point. A fair point. I mean, that's. I don't know that that's necessarily true, though.
It's false when the
If
5 deck is the monocolor deck.
Yeah, if it's a monocolor deck, or if there's just lots of different, like actually lots of different generic color options around. It could be that the card's not bad; it just wasn't the best for someone's option.
Sure, but that means it had lower utility. uh, it was just a side point.
But yeah, no, that's a fair point.
But yeah, get prepared. Turns out, if all of your tricolor cards have 2 rec, it's pretty good.
True. I didn't
And it's
even. Oh,
kind of
go on.
no.
I,
It's kind of even free because like it draws you a card.
I was gonna say, yeah, I didn't even remember this card draws you a card. That seems completely unnecessary.
I think I've been forgetting drawing cards for like half of Continentals until somebody reminded me and I was like, oh yeah, it draws a card. I forgot.
Um, yeah, but yeah, that's it's as you said, for the fact that the tricorns are all two cost reduction. Sorry, not just the tricorns, tricolors, because it's not just the friends we care about in this day and
Yeah.
age. Um, two reduction. So yeah, this really ought to have been considered with that in mind. Honestly.
Do
Um,
you think Get Prepared uh would get any use if it was not for the tricolor thing? Like, let's say all of the tricolor cards had free rec.
right.
Imagine a world like that.
I
Do you think people run Get Prepared?
I don't know. I think maybe not.
I think they do in more specific circumstances, right? I think they do if they do have like a ton of 2 rec cards in their off color.
Sure.
It's kind of average to do that, but I mean it's fine. And I think they do if they splash into like other multicolor that is 2 rec, not necessarily tricorns.
Yeah. Also, I just realized this, but like, isn't it? It's a little unfortunate that we could have a card named Get Prepared. Like it, a card named Get Prepared should really just say your friends have prepared until the end of the turn. Um,
Or maybe it should be prepared and be a song.
maybe.
But yeah, that's a good point.
But anyway, yeah, these cards are really good.
Yeah, and I think I don't I okay, maybe I'm a little blinded by Continentals, right?
Tough not to be.
But
It
yeah,
is the
but
bright beacon in our rearview mirror.
array, if you will.
Perhaps.
Uh, I think existence of these two cards shapes a lot of things. Like they're the most meta impactful cards in the set.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, well, yeah. We're gonna get to the tricolor resource in a bit. Um, but like, yeah, the existence of these two cards legitimately means that basically anybody can uh, can think about tricolors these days.
Yeah, and any
Even
tricolor, not necessarily Logic even.
yeah, even stuff that is not even really close to the colors you're running.
Yeah.
So yeah, big changes for sure.
Because like this was is our next slide the Logic one? No. Okay. It's fine. We'll talk about it during Logic.
Okay, sure. Let's move along then. Yeah. The next slide was going to be the magic counter stuff, which we both rated pretty highly, and then didn't
I
make.
had belief in your deck, Cursed.
I mean, so did I. So did I. And I mean, my deck didn't do badly. It was
No, it did exactly for the salt block.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna pour some more salt there.
Hey, like no one's gonna remember who crashed out of the top 8 at Continentals, but
That's true.
my name is on that salt block forever.
Yeah. So actually, GP points out something in the chat, and I kind of wanted to mention it. Is actually the reason I rated these cards so highly was not because of your deck, but because of the purple deck. Remember that the Animoise deck, the combo deck, and we did not see it. Nobody ran it, and I do wonder how high it would place if somebody ran it. And I don't think nobody ran it because it was bad or anything. So it's not. We just don't know what would have happened.
Yep, for sure. Um, well, I mean, if I think about it, it was a fairly slow metagame tournament, which probably favors kind of non-interactive combo like that.
Yeah. Well,
Like it may have had some issues with the white that was running around and all the tax stuff that was going on.
yeah, I think white would be a good counter to it. Yeah. I think a purple combo deck has a better chance against Allura decks because it doesn't care about frighten as much. Like, oh no, you frightened my magic restore friend, but it already served its purpose. And there weren't much resource removal in the meta. Allure and Twitch decks have spike, of course, but yeah. And I mean, to be fair, Crystal Brighthouse is in the top 8. It's just not an attack I think either was expected.
That's
It was
right.
in
It was in Instagram's
Instagram.
deck. Yeah. Fair enough.
It is not a magic restore deck at all. It's just a deck that runs it as a secondary win condition.
Yeah,
Which was interesting choice, but it worked out well. Because in my game, at least, Instagram went like 11 points and then could not score anymore. So he just used Bright House to finish off the game. It was really good.
So yeah, they're good countervailing points. Like I don't think personally, I don't think either of them rescues us from our 5 on Frisbee
No.
No. Like 5 is this card's amazing. Everyone should use it, or at least
Yeah. I think so. For these ratings, I don't think necessarily they're incorrect yet. Because the purple list did not run. So I think these ratings might still be correct. But Because we only have one data point, right? It is the largest data point we'll probably have, but still just one.
That's fair. I still think, even given the purple list, that we were too bullish on magic counters in general, though.
Maybe.
Because there's the purple deck. There's my deck, which, for the record, I haven't given up on either. I think there are other.
I think you need to run counter logic.
I mean, yes, I need to embrace the multicolor. That's where this world is these days.
Embrace the virus that is the counter logic factory.
Yeah,
it infects every deck.
But yeah, like I was in sort of the sort of testing and in HithCon and stuff. It seemed like there was a lot of synergy around for magic counters, and like many of the colors, not all the colors, but many of the colors could do interesting things with them. So yeah, I was thinking they were going to be a major force in this metagame, and I suppose they could still be, but didn't look that way over Continentals.
All right. Do you want to move to the main course?
Sure. Done with the appetizers. So the slide's titled Blue Purple. Counter logic over there is obviously not necessarily just Blue Purple, but there were some other significant misses in the Blue Purple category that Let's Make a Mark Together is just kind of standing in for here. Those ones.
So, I have opinions on this. I think so. The reason both of our ratings are the same for this card actually, which is 4 in utility, 1 in deck performance, which clear as we mentioned in the stream. I remember even now that we had no faith in Blue Purple, right? Like at all.
Yep.
And which turns out was wrong, right? Because Bugle ran Blue Purple, and Bugle is top 4, I believe. So, what's up with that? I think that it's not as much as Blue Purple is good. It's just Blue is really good, And it doesn't matter what other color you run with it, but much of the heavy lifting is done by Blue. In this case, because of the Frightened package and everything that comes with it, and also it just so happens that Allura and Twitch, which are also a big part of the Frightened package, are also Blue Purple, So maybe that's the reason to pivot into purple. But GP's deck is fairly similar to Bugle's. They're different but similar. The line is kind of blurry there, I think. And GP's deck does not run purple at all, So I am attributing Blue Purple's success to Blue. And it doesn't mean the rating was not right or wrong, though. The rating was definitely wrong, right? Because, again, Blue Purple is a thing, clearly.
Sure. I don't know. I feel like if Bugle was here, he might. He was pretty bullish on Blue Purple in the purple stuff.
Yeah, but then look at his deck. What is he running from purple? Well, I mean, he's running all of the value stuff, right? There's Tranquility. There is Let's Make a Mark Together. And Zip, right? Oh, I guess there's also Mayonnaise. But, yeah, I guess there's a Mayonnaise. And Nav doesn't it up for resource removal. But, there's the proportion of blue to purple is there's a heavy inclination towards blue. Sure. Oh, there we go. Ponyhead has pie charts. I forgot. We have 22 blue cards, 11 purple cards.
Right. Yeah.
We have twice as many blue cards.
Yeah. So the blue card, the blue portion of the deck is the main engine. The purple is there for utility. Right? Yeah. Same way we used to talk about white in control decks. So yeah, I suppose your analysis makes sense.
Yeah, GP also provided some thoughts in the chat.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, it's like essentially everything that GP is saying is my opinion. That blue purple is not like the color combo is not the reason. It's the blue fragment package, the fact that it can easily run tricolors, and some tricolors happen to be blue that you want to run. Reading Rainbow, I called it out in our ever free results. I think is an amazing card, really valuable, and it's also blue. It's like, it's kind of amazing how a blue purple deck does not run a purple ETGen. It has a blue ETGen. You know,
Yeah.
what a world.
Yeah. I mean, I think at this point we can make Reading Rainbow an honorary purple card. It just does all the
it
purple things.
it should have been purple from the start. It's a reading rainbow. It has a book on the art. Literally purple. But I know the intention behind that card was to make a blue ish, AT Gen ish. And like blue, Meticulous and blue was like a fun idea. So I get that.
Okay.
So yeah, that's blue purple. That's exactly why she's blue. The pony is blue, so the card is blue. That's why she's blue.
Fair enough.
So counter logic.
So
We
Cantor
did not
Logic.
talk about it at all yet.
I mean, we've been talking about it on the margins, as we have
That's true.
kind of the whole ever since Continentals, really. Yeah, those threes, maybe a little bit on the low end.
A little bit. I remember my reasoning for the free rating. I was not sure how easy it would be to get 3 different card types in a discard pile. Turns out it's really easy. In fact, if you're the only person running Counter Logic, you essentially have not infinite uses of this card, but like enough that you don't really care. Because I think if the card's had 4 different card types, then it'll be much, much worse, which is how I read it essentially, right? uh, but 3 different card types is you will always, pretty much always have some friends in Discord piles. You pretty much always have some events in Discord piles, so that's 2 out of 3. And then you need any of resource or troublemaker.
Yeah, I I distinctly remember being underwhelmed by the options, which is baffling to me now. Like, draw a card and magic counter are both, those aren't the big ones. But immediate
I
speed
was
move.
not.
Sorry.
I was not. I was like moving a character at immediate speed. It's a character. It's either yours or
Yeah.
opposing. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And when I was building a pip deck, I was like, "Oh, this card is really good. Too bad it's not in my colors."
Yeah. Like, metas have been dominated in the past by immediate speed move a character. That was Zipper Will's whole thing back in the day. So yeah, that I own that one for sure. That was just,
Yeah.
as I said, baffling.
Yeah, what set me back from Counter Logic is the fact that I didn't know how hard it will be to banish 3 cards of different types. It sounded hard, but apparently it's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
The game gets ridiculous when there's 2 of them.
And the fact that it only costs 1 is like that's pretty cheap for the amount of utility you get out of this, right?
It is fair. Like I think 1 is fine. Here's my hot take. I'll
Okay.
say that 1 for Counter Logic is fine. I think it will, if like with the text as is right now, if it costed 2, I think I would still run it. But I think that's because the text as it is right now is probably not fine. Or another way to look at it, it is a little too easy to play this card because of the color entry options
Sure.
that we have. If we did not have Ray of Hope and Get Prepared, but we had, let's say, we had Motivational Speech again or whatnot, I don't think we would see Counter Logic Factory as much. Like, I think without those entry options, I'm not sure if GP's deck is as possible to run. And same goes, I think Bugle's deck might still be reasonable, but I think GP's
Mhm.
deck does not really operate without those two entry options. So I think, like, when I was looking in Counter Logic Factory, I was not thinking about that. I was thinking of, okay, what is blue, pink, purple look like, and are they good? And like, I'm like, maybe, you know. So, but the fact that it is super easy to get those colors, because it's super easy to get any of the tri colors or any colors really ever,
Mhm.
that changes the landscape a lot. So, like, there's what I'm saying here is that there's multiple layers that happened here that pushed this particular card to the top, right? There's the ease of entry options. There's the fact that this card is actually very desirable, has a very desirable effect that a lot of decks want to use, even if they don't run those colors, and so on.
Yep. Yep. And that's like. So, to break down the ratings, right? Like, individual utility should have been arguably. I mean,
5.
this gets hard to kind of unwind, right? Because as you said, the like I guess in retrospect, given the data that we have, yeah, 5 obviously, because this deck's supposed to be a 5, right? Or this card's supposed to be a 5, right? It's
Yeah,
it's
like,
it, it,
here's my
it's
explanation for the 5. It's 5 because this card has a very good effect, and imagine a blue purple pink deck existed without the entry cards, right? There was just a good blue purple. It would definitely run this card with now that like we know how good it is, right? So the card is definitely F5.
right. And yeah, the sort of interactions with other cards that gets wrapped into the meta rating. So yeah, I suppose
Yeah.
that's the logical foundation that gets it up to a 5. Yeah. Alrighty. Right. So the purple friends. This is an interesting slide I thought because these are two cards that we rated highly. In your case, I have the asterisk over there because of Pip. Um, I don't remember if you were actually going to give this card a rating that was high aside from Pip or not.
Okay, look. Did Pip win Continentals? Yes. Is this a Pip? Yes. 5.
Right. Now the thing that interests me most about these, right, is that care of common pages. There actually was a purple, like mono purple value control deck, but it didn't include either of these cards
Because it was not a Magic Restore
because
deck.
it was not a Magic Restored deck. Yeah.
So, Sander, I think, could be useful outside of a Magic Restore deck if you have like minimal Magic Restored support,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even if you don't, like, paying free to repeatedly put something on top, it's kind of painful, but maybe as a one-off, maybe. Pip, I think Pip is not like, if you're not running the combo, I don't really know if you would run Pip ever, honestly. Like, converting magic counters into 180 is once per turn. It's kind of meh.
Yeah.
Okay, you might run Pip just because you need magic restored in your deck, but you would never run her for the second. Like, I think maybe I'm wrong, and that's fine. But I think if you remove the second ability from the card, that would not change anything about the card.
Probably, honestly.
That's my take.
The fact that the counters have to go on her is the thing about it, yeah.
Oh yeah, if she said, when you, for the first time each turn when you put a magic counter, get an AT, she would be really good. She would be an AT gen for running, like, essentially, right? You get 1 AT per turn for the fact that you run Magic Restored. I think that would be actually a fine card. But as is right now, yeah, there's not much, like, unless you have a way to redistribute counters, but it all gets very fragile. Like, you don't
Yeah,
really want to accumulate counters on a single card.
yeah. Like that's certainly been that was my experience, right? Like, playing a deck that wanted to have some counters sitting around and remove them. Like, I didn't get many magic counters. And even in the games that I did, I was usually just piling them on Bright House and scoring points with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
I think the rating for Pip might still be correct because we don't know what would have happened if the purple combo deck was being ran,
Mhm.
And yeah. And Sander, I don't remember if Animal ran Sander, but like Sander, unlike Pip, does not need magic counters on himself. It's just magic counters on characters you have, which is a little easier to achieve, especially if you put them on your main. Then they're essentially unremovable.
Mhm.
I think if there was a purple main that did something for having magic counters on it, Sander would be amazing.
See, that's the
Alas.
interesting thing. Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get a main that interacts with magic counters. That's a weird thing, right? 'Cause that
Yeah, it
sounds
will be a little too specific, I think.
yeah.
It would be not like a waste of a main slot per se, but it would be really a one-minded main,
Mhm.
which is I think it's nice to have generic mains that kind of just do good things.
Yeah. Now, I suppose you could maybe have a main that was counters, not specific kinds of counters. That could be kind of interesting.
Name a counter at the start of the game. Name a counter. Put that type of counter on a card. Exhaust this card to put that. Exhaust this card to put a counter of that name on one of your friends.
Yeah. The problem
And
is,
then
I guess that like there's magic counters, and then there's that other kind of counters that we know are never supposed to go on mains. So that's never going to happen.
well, that's why exhaust put it with one of your friends, so
Sure.
it's fine.
Sure.
So what you do is you name a -1 power counter just to confuse your opponent and keep debuffing your friends for some reason.
Sometimes never supposed to go on mains. Fair enough, GP. That's right. It has happened in the time since.
But yeah,
But yeah, purple was. I think like in general we were pretty good on the purple stuff. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
What about white?
What about white? These are underestimates, right?
I actually think they're still correct.
You don't think that a like Pip was in both the top decks at Continentals. I think she's a 4 at least. I think she's got to be a 5.
Okay. Sure, both top decks is a good point. Hmm, sure, Pip can be a 4. Well, Pip is a 5,
Yeah.
as my rating is here, you see. Pip is a really good card. Yeah. I mean, all easy, Posy, and Pip are all like the white pushes, and yeah, but I like personally I think my deck is still a 3. That's like my rating. My rating of my deck is a 3.
I hate to tell you, but you're wrong.
No, it can hold its own, but the main reason for its success is counter logic and not because white good.
Sure, but you won Continentals. Like you can't take that back.
Without, yeah, but like if a deck wins Continentals, it does not mean that it consistently wins. Right? Like, the free rating says decks can hold their own. I think that's a very accurate description of my white deck. It can hold its own. And
Okay.
if you look at my seed, you will see my seed was 4 and a 3.
Okay. Okay.
That's not consistent winning for sure.
What I'm hearing is that we need to revise the rubric.
And also, decks tend to place well. Like, yes, it did place well, but if one of those wins was a loss, it would not place well anymore. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not really a tend to place well either, I think. So I think 3 is a very accurate rating. And I think that's fine. I think, like, a Continentals winner is not always the best deck. Uh, you know?
I mean, okay, I think like realistically, what I'm hearing is that one is too small of a sample size when we're talking about tendencies and um, you know,
Yes.
yeah, like it's a strong signal, but you're gonna be a cider fest, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna. I
Probably.
couldn't ask you what you're gonna play there, but like we'll see,
Probably.
right?
You can expect me to play a Pip main.
Sure. So we'll see, right?
Yes. But I mean, again, it's because of counter logic, not because of all of the white stuff. Although that being said, a big like the fact that it was Pip was kind of a helpful thing in some sense. Anyway,
Sure. And I would pose
but
you on
you
here.
could you could argue that yeah, like it's 2 data points for these cards because we have another top 2 white deck, and I can't speak for that deck, obviously. So maybe it should be a free, a 4
Mhm.
of that.
Yeah, Minty Stack did have Posian too, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
of course it did. Um, but yeah, again, in general, with the exception of uh, these ones, and to be fair, we both gave Posey a 5 on utility.
Yes, and I gave Pip gave Pip a 5,
You,
but
you
Pip is a
gave
5
Pip
in
the Pip
utility as well.
rating, yes. Yeah.
Pip is one Pip is uh like this trio, Posey, Pip, and Easy are the best white cards we have right now.
Yes.
I think any white deck, any white control deck runs them. And I think Pip is ran by any white deck, not just control.
That's probably true. So wait, you're gonna say that, and yet you're not gonna give this card.
Pip is a 5.
Well, sure, fair enough.
Can't argue with that logic.
I guess yeah, we're in the world where the broken clock is actually right now.
Yes, essentially.
Yeah, and to mention Izzy, you gave her a 3 last time round.
Uh yeah, well, I mean, it was all capped by the deck performance.
Right, right.
Like I think so my take on easy utility and deck performance was 4 and 3. Maybe it should be like yours, 5 and 4. Maybe it should be 4 and 4. Maybe it should be 4 and 3. I don't know. It's somewhere there.
All right, yeah, yeah. Oh, fair enough.
I'm for utility, like I'm absolutely sure that it is between 4 and 5 somewhere. Uh, Pip and Posey definitely get a 5 because Pip is a really strong card. And again, any deck could run her. Honestly, any white deck could run her, even not just control. And Posey is a win condition. I think it's hard to play white not in troublemaker control right now because Posey exists. That's how it feels to me, at least. So Posey is definitely also a 5. It's in a way, again, it's for the finish.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
easy, I think a white deck can get away not playing easy because easy does. It's like she's an amazing card, but she costs so much as well. Like that's why I'm not sure about easy. That's why I don't think she's a clear 5. She is somewhere between 4 and 5 on utility.
That okay, so that makes sense because it matters, I think, mostly in our sort of, as I said, interactions with other cards goes in the deck performance rating, right? Izzy's amazing because there's a bunch of stuff that's like, man, if I can get that again, that's incredible. Uh,
Yes.
in the
There's
meta
a
right
lot
now.
of good white cards that you want to get back, especially white pink. But 0 bars alone might be enough to run easy, you know?
Yeah.
And in our case, there is this cool tricolor card you can get back. I heard it's pretty good.
Yeah.
And easy gets it back into your hand and gives you a copy. So, like, yeah.
I'm shaking my head right now. Yeah.
uh, all right. Do you want to?
Sure. Yeah. Well, so in summary, right? I'm certain I remember during the stream, during the set review, like when I thought about white, I was thinking specifically of your deck. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, and obviously we missed Chrysalis.
Yeah, but Chrysalis is kind of the same deck, to be honest.
Similar in many respects.
They're not that different at all. They're kind of the same deck.
Mhm. Well, so I think you've said in the past that like Chrysalis might even be the better lane for
Yes.
that kind of deck, right? So,
Not in the opponents that not with the opponents that I had,
mhm.
but for the rest of the tournament, like on average, Chrysalis would be the better main, I think. But in this specific meta with the specific opponents I had, I think Pip was better. So I got lucky in that regard.
Sure, sure. Yeah, just as the thought for improving maybe our performance in the future. We missed Chrysalis.
Well, we didn't rate Chrysalis.
We didn't rate her, but we didn't consider.
That's fair. I did not expect Chrysalis to place that highly, to be honest. Like, Chrysalis' result was unexpected to me.
Mhm.
And my result as well. Like, I did not. The top 2 was completely unexpected to me.
Well, yes, we made that very clear. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Next slide is the last one. Got the big egg on my face over here.
Yeah, you have the wrong number for me. I rated Ruby Jubilee at a 3.
Did you?
Yes. Look.
Oh, you're
4
right.
in utility, 3 in deck performance.
You're right. Why did I looked in the wrong place. Okay. Uh,
Trying to sneakily change my ratings to make me look more wrong. That's a fix for sure. So I get to say that my assessment of Ruby Jubilee was correct. Because when I gave you a free, you're like, what? How can this card be a free? And I'm like, nobody runs it. Like, if nobody runs it, that means it's not that good of a card. Well, I mean, the card is good, but like, you know,
mhm.
there's no good deck with it. Other than the combo deck, which got banned before Continentals. And I did rate my cards with that in mind, because I expected that to happen.
Right.
Uh,
Oh, okay.
and
Right. That's my escape hatch. Yeah.
oh yeah, of course. You rated it a 5 because of the combo. You would definitely not rate your 5
No.
if there was no combo, right?
No.
So I think
I
it's
probably would have still. I probably would have still because I was so bullish on orange, which
yeah.
like we covered that over the whole set review stream.
So I am wondering. So I think it's a interesting topic to bring up. So Ruby Jubilee is obviously an incredibly powerful card, but why do you think there's no, like, we did not see her at all in the meta? Why did we not see orange? If like, is this card alone not enough for orange?
It's weird. I mean, I think it is legitimately weird because, like, you know, I go back to our discussion about the rotation, and like, you know, it was the consensus conclusion that like orange looks really good, right? It's got a really good main in Grogar. It's got a lot of great utility from the print and play sets. Like, it seemed to me certainly that it should still be great. The like, you know, the main mechanic of New Generation in Magic counters, again, barring the whole purple thing, didn't have a huge impact on the meta, which you would think says, oh, well, then the stuff that was good before should be even better in retrospect, which should give you more of a predilection towards orange. Um, and even like we're in a slower meta, so orange isn't about to get overrun by aggro anymore. Like the logic seems to me to say it should still be great.
Okay, here is my take.
Sure.
Which deck do you think Ruby Jubilee goes into, and which deck it does not go into?
In terms of
Because clearly, so if I ask you this question, does Ruby Jubilee automatically goes into every orange deck? Do you think the answer is yes or no?
So sorry, by orange deck, do you mean decks that run,
Run
orange?
Yes.
No.
What about orange primary? Does it go into every orange primary deck?
It seems likely.
So if you had an orange aggro that's very fast and plays a lot of small friends, do you play Ruby Jubilee?
That I like that deck doesn't exist.
Yeah, but let's say it existed. Like, no orange deck exists right now.
I suppose.
Other than easy orange.
No. I mean, not only does it not exist, that deck has like never existed.
Oh, sure. So, okay. So here's the thing, right?
Except for if someone brings up Thorax Orange, that was not an orange deck.
I mean, Thorax Orange is an orange deck at ran Training Water, which is very similar to Ruby Jubilee, actually. And that's kind of brings me to my point. The effect is really good for an aggro list, I think. Or Big Orange, right? Those are the two decks that this card wants to
The
go
effect
into.
is really good in Orange Farm too. It protects you against problem replacement.
Sure, but I don't think Orange Farm is sure. Orange Farm is fair enough. So, like, okay, Orange Farm is then the only application. Orange Farm and Big Orange is the only application of this card because if you're running an orange aggro, whatever that looks like, with orange primary or not with orange primary, I don't care. I don't think you play Ruby Jubilee, even though the effect is really good because it costs 4. It is so much. So you don't play it in aggro.
I mean,
You don't play it in orange control.
hang on a minute.
Okay, hanging on.
Yellow aggro plays a card that costs 4.
Okay, that's different. You have Antoine. It does not
You
cost.
do, but you still hard cast it on occasion. I would even say even more frequently than on occasion.
Yeah, but that card is like immediate impact. Ruby Jubilee is not immediate impact, I feel like. Anyway, it's very iffy. It's very iffy to me if you run Ruby Jubilee in orange. In orange aggro, right? I think it's hard to. Yeah. And also, orange aggro doesn't really exist either, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't run it in control. I don't think so. Because it does not help you control.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
like yeah, it's kind of hard to run her in Orange Farm because you run villains. That's another thing. I think Orange Farm is a fine application, but also it costs you 4 to play her, and she is frightenable by your villains. That sounds kind of bad, to be honest.
That is unfortunate. Yeah.
Uh, so I'm actually not sure if Orange Farm runs it. Maybe that it's kind of a coin. Anyway, I think she is runnable in a very limited selection of the decks, and even though it's an amazing card utility wise, I think that's why we never saw her because like it's hard to come up with a deck that runs her. Uh, and Big Orange is the clear one, I think. I think Big Orange definitely runs Ruby Jubilee. But I think there's only one player in our community who plays Big Orange, and they were not at the tournament. So we might see her at Ciderfest, is my take.
I mean, I think Big Orange has more potential than people give it credit for.
Sure, this is why that's a free. You
Yeah.
know, I did not give it a 1 in deck performance. I think Big Orange can hold its own. And I think Big Orange might even like, I would not be surprised if Big Orange takes Ciderfest. You know?
I'm thinking about it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would handicap that at like a 35% chance, maybe. Yeah.
So Ruby Jubilee overrated. Literally, actually.
Yeah. 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 Well, I'm happy I gave her a spirited defense, but the 5 is definitely wrong. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
And then we have Spike over here. We both gave 3s to. Arguably, I think it's probably more of a 4. I know I
Yeah.
missed all of the. Well, I say all of the as if it's more than one card, but the cost reduction that came off of blue thanks to Reading Rainbow.
Yeah, Reading Rainbow makes Spike cost 1. And in GP's deck in particular, Bottled Dragonfire, it costs 0. That's kind of crazy. Uh, yeah. I think without Reading Rainbow, we would not see Spike as much.
Mm-hmm.
But still, very good card. I think not seeing Spike as much does not mean we would not see Spike at all. We might still see Spike. Spending 5 on a Spike is kind of unfortunate, but the effects are really good. Even though you get only 3 count, like if you don't run any other magic counters, sending stuff between problems, and it is a resource removal that removes, or a troublemaker removal that removes anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
3 times. And like that's really good in the current meta, I feel like. Because of counter logic and because of we have like a fair amount of troublemaker presence in the meta. We have the farm decks and we have troublemaker control decks. So I think like all those things combined make Spike's effects are like really good for the current meta, and yeah. But Reading Rainbow is the big part of it.
For sure, yeah, yeah. Like without that, Spike would be probably sorry rendered to the places that we were probably expecting it to go when we
Yeah,
made these ratings as a expensive but like as a win con or just an enormous value play in a late game. Yeah, when a control deck's kind of stabilized the board or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good when you pay 180 and take your opponent's Spike. I'll tell you that.
Ain't it? Ain't it so? Yep.
Hey, if they can spend 180 to play Spike, why can't I do that too?
those were excellent plays on your part, for what it's worth. Yeah.
I mean, it's just what Pip does. So what is your kind of? I don't have much more to say about Spike, unless you
We're
have some.
going to the conclusion. Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about ratings as a whole? How do you feel about them?
Well, I mean, we'll see, of course, when we come to the actual conclusion. Like when I do the proper math at the next card release.
Mm-hmm.
I think overall we were too optimistic because we always are.
I don't know about always, but sure.
I don't know. It feels to me like there's never enough ones in any given set review. There's always too many twos. There's always too many threes.
That's fair.
Because the coolness, the allure, the flash is always in your eyes.
Yeah,
But
the set was very exciting. I think I was excited about the set more than a lot of sets in the past.
For sure. But there's always got to be some things where, I guess, honestly, credit to you for Ruby Jubilee, where you have to say this looks great, but it's not going to get played.
Yeah.
Like overall, I think because I've gone back and done these numbers for some of our reviews in the past, and usually there are some big misses, of course, but on average, it comes out to actually be pretty close, right? So I think if I think that's probably where we're going to end up here. Where there's going to be some unfortunate moments like these ones that we've gone through here, but on average, the ratings are probably going to be about right.
Yeah, that was my impression as well.
But remember, it's not about being about right. It's about being closer than Sim. And that's what
I didn't know that's what we're going for, but sure.
Well, that's because we had the. I mean, actually, because we're going individual, it's about being closer than you as well.
Yeah, will you do the math?
Yeah, of course.
Oh wow, my average ratings are slightly lower than yours, so I'm more correct then.
We'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Anyway, that is gonna bring us to the end of stream for today. There were, depending on how you interpret the data, there were other misses in there.
Yeah.
But 3 instead of 4, 2 instead of 3, like it's these things get kind of arguable. I think we covered the big notable ones.
Yeah.
As mentioned, we have Ciderfest coming up in November. There's a little tournament of RamenCon coming up before then, Elfin Pen's event. And so we'll once we get a little bit more of a sample size, we'll see more about these tendencies, and Animoy will be at Ciderfest probably, showing off.
I would assume so, yeah.
Purple combo, and Orange will be there too, as you say. So yeah, it might honestly be a more complete showing of the meta there, funnily enough.
Yeah.
Than at the big Continentals tournament.
Ciderfest is going to be definitely interesting. Well, I mean, the reason for the thing that you mentioned here is there's a lot of players that go to Ciderfest but don't go to Everfree, which is why we have like 2 different sub-metas I would even say, right, for both of those cons. And that is part of the reason Sim was looking into moving Continentals to Cyberfest, but the way Cyberfest is being ran, it's kind of hard to do that.
Yep, and that's been covered in other venues.
Yes.
But yeah, so as far as we go, if you have nothing else to say, Ithra. As I said, that's it for us today. We will be back in 2 weeks' time, September 28th, with something else. Other than that, thank you everybody for coming out, watching, being in chat, offering your thoughts. Until next time, I've been Cursor Chords.
And I've been Hifrock.
See you in a couple of weeks.
Bye.